Preparing for a SAP ABAP interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer, followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share. And drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. What is the difference between transparent, pooled, and cluster tables in SAP ABAP? Transparent tables map directly to a physical database table with the same structure, so they are used for application data like VBAK or MARA. Pooled and cluster tables store multiple logical tables inside one physical database object, mainly to save space in older systems. Cluster tables also group related records using a key. In modern SAP, especially with HANA, transparent tables are preferred because they support better performance, SQL access, and simpler maintenance. While answering, focus on dictionary table types, database-level storage, one-to-one versus many-to-one mapping, historical usage, limitations, and why pooled and cluster tables are mostly obsolete in newer SAP systems. Question 2. How do standard, sorted, and hashed internal tables differ? And when would you use each? I choose the internal table type based on how the data is accessed. Standard tables are flexible and good for sequential processing, but key reads can be slow, unless sorted and read with binary search. Sorted tables maintain key order automatically and support fast reads plus range processing. Hash tables are best for exact key lookups because access is almost constant time. The trade-off is that hash tables do not support index-based access. Make sure to cover access patterns, key definition, performance complexity, index availability, duplicate handling, memory considerations, and examples like sequential processing, binary search, and fast key-based lookup. Question 3. What is the difference between select single and select up to one rows in Open SQL? Select single is intended for reading one row, ideally using a full primary key or a highly selective condition. Select up to one rows also returns one row, but it behaves like a limited result set and can be combined with order by. Without order by, neither should be used when the chosen row matters. My rule is simple. Use select single for exact record reads, and use up to one rows when I need the first row by a defined sort order. In your answer, talk about full key access, database optimization, ordering behavior, result determinism, performance expectations, and when select up to one rows with order by is more appropriate. Question 4. How would you improve the performance of a slow ABAP report that reads large database tables? I would first measure before changing code, using STO5 for SQL trace and SAT for ABAP runtime. Common fixes include selecting only required fields, using restrictive where conditions, avoiding select inside loop, and replacing nested loops with hashed or sorted internal tables. I would also check whether a suitable database index exists. For very large datasets, I process in packages and push aggregations or joins to Open SQL or CDS instead of doing everything in ABAP memory. Be sure to mention STO5, SAT, SQL monitor, proper where clauses, avoiding select inside loops, indexes, internal table types, field selection, package processing, and pushing logic to the database. Question 5. What are BAPIs, and how are they different from normal function modules? A BAPI is a standardized function module exposed as a business API for creating, changing, or reading SAP business objects. Unlike normal function modules, BAPIs are designed to be stable, remote-enabled, and safe for external integration. They usually return messages in BAPI-RET2 instead of raising technical exceptions. After a successful change BAPI, I call BAPI transaction commit, not commit work randomly. The big benefit is that BAPIs preserve SAP validation, authorization, and business rules. While answering, cover business object interface purpose, RFC enablement, stable external API design, return structures, transaction handling, BAPI transaction commit, and why direct table updates are avoided. Question 6. Explain the difference between user exits, customer exits, BADIs, and enhancement spots. All 4 are ways to enhance standard SAP without modifying core code. User exits are older, often form-based enhancements in standard programs. Customer exits are managed through SMOD and CMOD, and may include functions, screen, or menu exits. BADIs are object-oriented enhancement points and can support multiple implementations and filters. Enhancement spots are the newer framework around explicit and implicit enhancements. In interviews, I emphasize upgrade safety. Enhance where SAP provides hooks. Avoid direct modifications. Make sure to compare classical exits and modern enhancement frameworks, including CMOD, SMOD, function module exits, screen menu exits, BADI implementation, filter-dependent BADIs, and upgrade-safe customization. Question 7. What is an ALV report, and how would you build one using SALV GUI ALV Grid or SALV? ALV is SAP's standard way to display tabular report output with built-in sorting, filtering, totals, variants, and export options. For a simple display, I prefer CLS ALV table because it needs less code and automatically derives metadata. If I need editable cells, custom toolbar buttons, or detailed event handling, I use CLGUI ALV Grid with a field catalog and container. The key is to separate data selection from presentation so the report remains maintainable. In your answer, discuss ALV purpose, field catalog or metadata, layout variants, sorting, filtering, events, editable grids, SALV simplicity, and when CLGUI ALV Grid gives more control. Question 8. How do you handle database updates and transaction control in ABAP? ABAP transaction control is based on the SAP LUW, which may include several dialog steps before data is committed. I use commit work only after all validations and dependent updates are ready. If something fails, rollback work cancels pending changes. For asynchronous update processing, update function modules are registered and executed during commit. I also use in-queue locks to prevent concurrent changes. With BAPIs, I follow the API contract and call BAPI transaction commit after success. Be sure to cover SAP LUW versus database LUW, commit work, rollback work, update function modules, in-queue locks, BAPI commits, and avoiding partial inconsistent updates. Question 9. What is the purpose of lock objects in SAP ABAP, and how are they implemented? Lock objects provide SAP-level logical locking, so two users do not change the same business object at the same time. I create a lock object in SE11, define the table and key fields, and SAP generates enqueue and dequeue function modules. Before changing data, I call enqueue. After finishing, I call dequeue, or let the lock clear at commit. This is better than relying only on database locks, because SAP transactions can span multiple screens and steps. While answering, focus on concurrency control, logical locks, enqueue and dequeue function modules, lock modes, table keys, SM12 monitoring, and why database locks alone are not enough. Question 10. What are ABAP Dictionary domains and data elements, and why are both needed? A domain defines the technical characteristics of a field, such as data type, length, decimal places, value range, and conversion routine. A data element gives semantic meaning to that domain, including field labels and documentation. For example, multiple fields may use the same char10 domain, but different data elements explain whether the value is a customer, vendor, or material. This separation improves reuse, consistency, translation, validation, and UI behavior across the SAP system. Make sure to include technical attributes, semantic meaning, field labels, search helps, conversion exits, value ranges, reuse across tables, and consistency benefits in enterprise SAP systems. Question 11. How do you debug a runtime error or short dump in SAP ABAP? I start in ST22 and read the dump carefully: runtime error, exception, program, include, line number, and call stack. Then I reproduce the issue in debug mode if possible, and inspect input data, internal table contents, and system fields. Many dumps come from missing checks, failed conversions, empty reads, authorization issues, or database constraints. I fix the root cause, not just the dump line, and add validation or exception handling, so the same case is handled gracefully. In your answer, talk about ST22 analysis, dump category, exception details, source line, call stack, variable values, reproducing the issue, authorization checks, and defensive fixes. Question 12. What is the difference between classical reports, interactive reports, and module pool programming? Classical reports produce a basic list output, usually driven by events like initialization, @selection screen, and start of selection. Interactive reports let users click a line and navigate to secondary lists using events like @line selection. Module pool programs are dialog applications built with screens, flow logic, PBO, and PAI modules. I use reports for extraction and analysis, but module pools when the requirement needs guided data entry, validations, and multi-screen interaction. Be sure to compare execution flow, list output, user interaction, events like start of selection and @line selection, screen flow logic, PBO, PAI, and suitable business use cases. Question 13. How do you work with RFCs in ABAP, and what types of RFC calls are commonly used? RFC lets one SAP system call a function module in another system, or allow external systems to call SAP. The function module must be remote-enabled, and the target is configured through an RFC destination in SM59. Synchronous RFC waits for an immediate response. Transactional RFC guarantees execution once, while queued RFC adds sequence control. I pay attention to authorization, connection errors, commit behavior, and item potency because distributed calls can fail after partial processing. While answering, cover remote-enabled function modules, destinations in SM59, synchronous RFC, transactional RFC, queued RFC, error handling, serialization, and integration scenarios with external or SAP systems. Question 14. What are CDS views in ABAP, and how are they different from traditional database views? CDS views are semantic data models defined in ABAP using DDL syntax. Compared with traditional database views, they support annotations, associations, calculated fields, access control, and consumption metadata for analytics, Fiori, and OData. They also help push joins, filters, and aggregations down to the database, which is important on HANA. I still avoid putting every business rule into CDS. Procedural ABAP remains better for complex validations or multi-step processing. Make sure to discuss data modeling, annotations, associations, semantic metadata, authorization with DCL, HANA pushdown, consumption by OData or analytics, and limitations compared with procedural ABAP logic. Question 15. How do you apply object-oriented programming concepts in ABAP? In modern ABAP, I use classes to encapsulate behavior and keep reports thin. Public methods expose the contract, private methods hide implementation, and interfaces help swap implementations for testing or different business rules. Inheritance is useful, but I prefer composition when possible because it reduces tight coupling. Polymorphism is powerful for strategy-style logic, such as different pricing or output handlers. ABAP also works well with ABAP unit, exceptions, and cleaner package design. In your answer, cover classes, interfaces, inheritance, polymorphism, visibility sections, exception classes, testability, dependency injection, and why modern ABAP favors OO design over large procedural includes. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.